Alpha, jealous and cruel, humiliated his pregnant Luna at the gala. Then the Lycan king staked his claim. Lanterns flickered along the marble paths leading to the royal palace, their light reflecting off the polished floors, casting long, golden shadows across the grand hall. Inside, the gala was in full swing, an extravagant celebration of alliances, power, and status. Nobles whispered in embroidered silks, jewels sparkled under the chandeliers, and the music of violins and flutes danced through the air like delicate flames. Luna stood at the edge of the hall, her hands gently resting on the curve of her belly. Her dress, a pale shade of moonlight blue, flowed around her like liquid silk. She felt a tight knot of unease in her chest. The gala was meant to be a celebration, but for her, it was a cage. Every glance in the hall seemed to weigh her, judge her, and remind her of her vulnerability. At her side stood the alpha of her pack, a man whose presence demanded attention. His dark eyes were like polished obsidian, sharp and unyielding. He was handsome in a way that could charm kingdoms, but tonight his charm had a cruel edge. His lips curled in a faint smirk whenever someone glanced at Luna. Her humiliation was, to him, a game. "Luna," he said, his voice low, carrying a dangerous edge. "Try to remember your place tonight. The court watches everything." Luna's heart clenched, but she forced a polite smile. She had learned long ago that defiance only brought more cruelty. Her gaze drifted toward the glittering crowd. She saw nobles whispering behind fans, laughter that felt sharper than knives, and eyes that lingered too long on the swell of her belly. She could feel the weight of their expectations, and it pressed down on her like the heaviest stone. The alpha led her toward the center of the hall, where the most important nobles gathered. His hand brushed hers briefly, not in tenderness, but as a reminder that she belonged to him, and only to him. Luna lowered her eyes, keeping her expression calm even as her stomach knotted in fear. She had prepared herself for this, but nothing could prepare her for the sharp sting of public humiliation. A nobleman stepped forward, raising his glass in a toast. "To the future of the kingdom," he said, his words polite but empty. "May our alliances remain strong and our leaders wise." The alpha took the opportunity to speak, his voice carrying across the hall with controlled authority. "Indeed," he said smoothly. "But let us also remember that not all alliances are equal. Some are fragile and some are easily broken." His gaze flicked to Luna, and the hall seemed to hold its breath. "Care must be taken to maintain the dignity of those who bear our legacy." Luna felt the whisper of the court's attention like a physical touch, every eye upon her, every word echoing in the hall. The alpha's words were a knife, meant to wound her pride without spilling blood. She wanted to disappear into the shadows, to escape the suffocating gaze of a world that saw her only as a possession, a symbol, and now, a scandal. A murmur ran through the crowd, growing louder, curiosity mixing with thinly veiled amusement. Luna's cheeks flushed, not with shame for herself but for the helplessness she felt. She wanted to speak to defend herself, but the words caught in her throat. The alpha's smirk widened, subtle but cruel, as if he had orchestrated every moment. Then a new presence entered the hall, a figure whose arrival shifted the air like a sudden storm. The Lycan king. Tall, commanding, with a presence that seemed to bend the light around him, he moved through the crowd with a calm confidence. His dark hair fell over strong features, and his eyes, intense, almost luminous in the candlelight, found Luna immediately. He did not smile. He did not speak. But in the quiet, fierce way he looked at her, Luna felt something she had not felt in a long time: protection. And longing. The alpha noticed the shift instantly. His jaw tightened, his hand curling around Luna's wrist, not gently but possessively. "Do you see him?" he hissed. "The king from the northern lands. Don't let him, he means nothing." But Luna could feel the meaning in the Lycan king's gaze. It was not just power. It was concern, admiration, and something that felt dangerously like desire. Her heart, already heavy with anxiety, began to beat in erratic rhythms. She felt both drawn to him and terrified of the consequences. The Lycan King stepped closer, his voice low but clear. "Luna," he said, so softly that only she could hear, "you do not belong in this cage." The words stirred a storm inside her. She wanted to answer, to tell him she could not leave, that she was trapped by circumstances, by promises, by fear. But the Alpha's hand tightened on her wrist, and the moment dissolved like smoke. "Watch yourself," the Alpha murmured, his voice laced with danger. "Do not encourage attention from strangers, or it will be regrettable." The tension between them crackled, visible to anyone paying attention. Luna's chest felt tight, torn between fear, anger, and a strange, desperate hope that someone, anyone, could rescue her from this humiliation. As the night continued, the gala moved like a polished dance. Nobles laughed, drank, and whispered, but Luna felt as if she were moving through water, heavy and unseen. She noticed the subtle gestures of the Lycan King, protective, watchful, calculating. Every so often their eyes met, and Luna felt a warmth she had not allowed herself in years. But the Alpha was never far. Every glance, every movement of Luna's was under his scrutiny. His jealousy simmered beneath polite words, and she could feel it in the cold weight of his gaze. He was dangerous, unpredictable, and cruel, but he had also been her protector in his own twisted way. The first major moment came when a noblewoman approached, her smile sharp as a dagger. "Luna, dear, your condition. It is most unusual for a gala, is it not? I hope your husband is taking good care of you." Her eyes sparkled with thinly veiled mockery. Luna felt heat rise to her face. The room seemed to tighten around her. She opened her mouth, wanting to defend herself, but the Alpha stepped forward, his voice smooth but cutting. "Yes," he said, his hand brushing Luna's arm, not gently but possessively. "I am taking care of her as any husband should. But let this be a lesson: dignity must be maintained, no matter the circumstances." The room held its breath, some impressed by his command, others whispering with cruel delight at the drama unfolding. Luna's heart sank. She felt humiliated, exposed, and trapped under the weight of his words. She could not speak, could not fight, and yet she burned with a quiet anger that refused to die. And then, without warning, the Lycan King moved through the crowd, his presence undeniable. He stopped near the edge of the dance floor, his eyes locked on Luna's. The air seemed to hum with energy. "Enough," he said, his voice firm but calm. "No one should treat her this way." The room fell into stunned silence. The Alpha's jaw tightened, and for the first time that night, Luna saw uncertainty flash in his dark eyes. The Lycan King's gaze did not waver. "You have crossed a line," he said to the Alpha. "Step away from her." The Alpha's lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment the room held its breath. The tension was palpable, electric. The gala, with all its glitter and ceremony, felt like a battlefield. Luna's heart raced. She felt fear, yes, but also a strange, intoxicating hope. Perhaps she was not alone. Perhaps someone powerful and unyielding, was willing to protect her, to challenge the cruelty she had endured for too long. The Alpha's voice broke the moment, low and dangerous. "This is far from over," he said, his eyes flashing with a storm of pride, anger, and something darker. The Lycan King did not answer, only kept his gaze on Luna, a silent promise of protection and power. The murmurs in the hall grew louder, whispers of scandal and intrigue, of power challenged and pride wounded. Luna felt her hands tremble, both from fear and a strange, unfamiliar excitement. The night was far from over, and she knew the events of this evening would change everything. The Alpha's cruelty, the Lycan King's protective presence, and her own growing strength were all pieces of a game she did not yet understand, but one she would have to play, whether she wanted to or not. As the music swelled, the lanterns flickered, and the nobles whispered, Luna realized the world she had known was breaking apart. And in its place, a new force, dangerous, magnetic, and unknown, was rising. Somewhere in the shadows, the Lycan King's eyes never left hers. And the Alpha's hand on her arm tightened, a silent warning of battles to come. The gala was over, but the war for her heart, her safety, and her destiny had only just begun. The forest outside the kingdom was alive with whispers. Moonlight filtered through tall, ancient trees, casting long silver shadows across the soft moss and fallen leaves. Luna moved carefully, each step hesitant yet purposeful, feeling the weight of her belly, the fragility of her life, and the lingering humiliation of the gala pressing down on her. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig made her heart race. The world she had known, the palace, the court, even the Alpha, felt distant now, replaced by the deep, dark unknown of the forest. She had come here seeking peace, a place to think without the constant pressure of judgment. Yet even here the past clung to her like a shadow. Her fingers brushed over the folds of her dress, the silk still carrying faint traces of candlelight and perfume from the gala. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to summon calm, but the memory of the Alpha's smirk and the court's whispers returned, sharper than ever. The forest was quiet but not empty. Something, or someone, moved with purpose in the darkness. Luna's heart skipped a beat. She knew she was being watched, not by eyes of cruelty or judgment, but by a presence that made her feel simultaneously safe and vulnerable. The Lycan King emerged from the shadows, silent as the night itself. His dark hair shimmered in the moonlight, and his eyes, piercing and luminous, found hers immediately. Unlike the Alpha, his presence did not suffocate her. Instead, it seemed to promise protection, a sanctuary she had almost forgotten existed. "You should not be out here alone," he said softly, stepping closer. "It is not safe for you, not with the world waiting to judge." Luna's breath caught. His voice was calm, steady, and full of authority, not just of power but of care. I needed to escape," she whispered, her voice trembling. I cannot breathe in that palace anymore. I cannot live under his eyes." The Lycan King nodded slowly. "I understand," he said, "and you will not have to, not while I am here." For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken emotions. Luna felt a pull, a strange mix of relief and longing, as though the forest itself had been waiting for him to appear. But beneath that she felt fear, fear of the Alpha, fear of the unknown, and fear of the powerful emotions stirring in her heart. "You are too far from the safety of your home," he continued. "You cannot hide here forever. The world will follow you, and the dangers are not only from your own people." Luna's gaze dropped to the ground. "I know," she said softly, "but I had to come. I could not face him, not tonight." Her voice trembled as the memory of the Gala's cruelty returned. She could feel the sting of humiliation, still sharp, still raw. He wants to control me, even my child." The Lycan King's eyes darkened, stormy and protective. "No one should control you like that," he said firmly. "Not him, not anyone. You are not a possession to be commanded. And your child, no curse, no power, no pride should take that from you." Luna's chest tightened. She had feared this child would be a source of shame, a reason for her punishment, yet hearing the Lycan King speak of protection, of hope, kindled a small, fragile flame in her heart. The night air grew colder, and Luna shivered. "I do not know what to do," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I cannot return to the palace, but I cannot stay hidden forever. And I do not trust him, and I do not know who to trust anymore." "You can trust me," the Lycan King said, stepping closer. There was no arrogance in his words, only certainty. "I will not let harm come to you, to your child, but you must be brave, Luna. The world will not wait for fear." Her heart raced, caught between relief and fear. She wanted to reach out, to accept the safety he offered, yet a part of her remained bound to the Alpha, by fear, by history, by the strange, complicated bond they shared. And then, as if the forest itself had sensed her unease, the ground trembled slightly. Luna stumbled, clutching her belly. Pain flared through her, sharp and insistent, and a strange warmth seemed to spread from within her, radiating outward. The Lycan King reacted instantly. He caught her, steadying her against his chest. "What is happening?" he asked, concern threading through his voice. I do not know," Luna gasped, fear rising in her chest. "It hurts the child." The Lycan King's eyes darkened with worry. He pressed his hand gently over hers on her belly. "Stay calm, breathe with me. You are not alone." Her heartbeat slowed slightly, matching the strength of his steady rhythm. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a measure of safety. Yet beneath it a new fear grew, the unknown power stirring inside her child, something ancient, something waiting. "You feel it too," she whispered, eyes wide with both wonder and fear. "Yes," he admitted. "There is power here, something old, something strong. It may be a blessing or it may be a danger, but it belongs to no one who would harm you. Only you and your child have a claim to it." The words sent a shiver down her spine. The forest seemed to hold its breath around them, the shadows thickening as if listening. Luna felt the weight of the world pressing in, the court's judgment, the Alpha's jealousy, and now, the pull of something older and more powerful than either of them. I cannot do this alone," she said, voice small. "You will not be alone," he promised. "I swear it." A rustle of movement interrupted them. The Alpha had followed. Silent until now, he emerged from the tree line, his eyes blazing with anger, jealousy, and something darker. His hand curled into a fist, yet his voice was smooth, like a whip coiled with silk. "You ran away," he said, each word a measured strike. "You think you can escape me, escape your duty." Luna's heart pounded. I needed air, I needed peace." "You needed humiliation," he countered sharply, stepping closer, eyes flashing with dangerous light. "Do not mistake my patience for weakness." The tension between the two men crackled like lightning through the silent forest. The Lycan King stepped forward, placing himself between Luna and the Alpha. "Step back," he commanded. "She is not yours to control." The Alpha's eyes narrowed. "And you are who to tell me that? You who would dare challenge my authority?" "I am the one who will protect her from you," the Lycan King said steadily. "If you truly care for her, you will step away." For a moment, neither moved. The air was thick with the heat of pride, jealousy, and unspoken desire. Luna felt trapped between them, yet strangely, she also felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, amidst the tension and danger, there was a path forward, one where she could have both safety and choice. The Alpha's jaw tightened. His hands trembled not with fear but with the weight of his own emotions, anger, jealousy, and something that still clung to care, twisted and hard to recognize. Finally, he took a step back, his dark gaze never leaving Luna's. "This is not over," he said, low and dangerous. "Do not think you have won freedom." Luna exhaled slowly, the tension in her body loosening slightly. The Lycan King did not speak, only remained near her, a silent guardian in the shadows. Hours passed as they moved deeper into the forest, the child inside Luna reacting subtly to the presence of these two powerful men. Every step, every sound, every glance carried a mix of fear, longing, and tension. She felt the Alpha's shadow behind her, the Lycan King's steady presence at her side, and the weight of the unknown destiny pressing on her heart. Finally, they came to a small clearing where the moonlight poured down like liquid silver. The forest seemed to hold its breath, a sanctuary from the outside world. Luna sank to the ground, her hands on her belly, feeling the power stirring within her child. "You are not alone," the Lycan King said softly, sitting beside her, "and I will not let you face this alone." Luna looked between the two men, feeling the pull of both fear and desire, of power and protection. She realized that the coming days would not be easy. The Alpha would not yield easily, and the Lycan King carried secrets of his own. Yet in this quiet moment under the moon, she felt a glimmer of hope, a fragile promise that she might survive, and perhaps even find peace, despite the darkness closing in. But the forest had its own secrets, and the magic stirring within her child was awakening. Something ancient and powerful was watching, waiting, and the first signs of its force flickered through the clearing like fire on the wind. Luna's journey had only begun. Between jealousy, danger, and the unknown power of her unborn child, the shadows of desire and fear would guide her into a destiny she could not yet understand. The sun had barely risen when Luna awoke in the quiet forest clearing. Mist hung like silver curtains between the trees, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. She stretched slowly, feeling the gentle pressure of her child within her. Something about the night's events had changed her, an unfamiliar courage flickering beneath her fear. Yet, the memory of the Alpha's anger, his dark pride, and the Lycan King's protective gaze lingered in her mind. She rose to her feet, her pale blue dress brushing against the soft moss, and looked around. The Lycan King was already awake, standing near the edge of the clearing, his eyes scanning the forest with a watchful intensity. He did not speak immediately, letting the silence between them carry its own weight. "You need to know the truth," he said finally, his voice calm but firm. "The child you carry, it is not just any child. There is a power inside, one that has not awakened in generations. The world will try to claim it, to control it, and you must be ready." Luna's hands instinctively went to her belly, fear and awe mingled together. "Power," she whispered. "My child has power." "Yes," he said, "and that power makes you a target. Not just for your own pack, but for those who see control as more important than life itself. You are no longer simply a Luna. You are the keeper of a force that could change everything." Luna's heart raced. She had always feared the Alpha, the court, and the judgment that came with her position. But now the stakes were far higher. Her child was more than a symbol, it was a key. And with that knowledge came both dread and responsibility. Before she could process her thoughts, the forest shifted. The Alpha appeared, stepping into the clearing with measured steps, his dark gaze fixed on her. Unlike before, he did not rush forward with anger. Instead, his expression was complicated, part frustration, part longing, and part guilt. "You hide behind him," the Alpha said quietly, his voice carrying a mix of pride and vulnerability. "Do you think that will protect you, protect the child?" Luna looked at him, eyes wide, heart hammering. I cannot face you alone," she admitted. "Not now, not with everything that happened. I need safety for me and for the child." The Alpha's jaw tightened. He looked away briefly, the tension in his shoulders betraying his inner conflict. I have been cruel," he admitted after a long silence. "I have humiliated you, and I cannot undo it. But do not mistake my mistakes for weakness. I will not let harm come to you either." The Lycan King's eyes narrowed, cautious and protective. "Then prove it," he said. "Your words mean nothing without action. Luna's safety is not yours to claim with words. It is hers and hers alone." The Alpha's eyes met Luna's, and in that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. He stepped back, a sign of respect but also of warning. "I will follow your choices," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. "But I will not stand aside if danger approaches." The forest seemed to hold its breath around them. Luna realized the precarious balance she now faced. Between the Alpha, whose pride and power were dangerous yet familiar, and the Lycan King, whose presence offered protection, clarity, and an unknown promise of freedom. The Lycan King gestured for her to follow him deeper into the forest. "We must reach the ruins," he said. "It is there you will learn more about the child's power. There are secrets that must be uncovered before the enemy finds you." The ruins were ancient, hidden in a valley where the trees grew tall and the air shimmered with old magic. Moss-covered stones jutted from the ground like jagged teeth, and carved runes glowed faintly under the soft light of the morning. Luna stepped carefully, feeling a shiver run down her spine. There was history here, history that hummed beneath the stones, whispering of old pacts, forgotten battles, and power that lingered long after its origin. "This place," Luna breathed, her eyes wide. "It feels alive." "It is," the Lycan King said. "Magic of a time before kingdoms, before alphas. Your child carries a spark from this very place. The blood in your veins connects to it, whether you know it or not." The alpha arrived shortly after, silent but present. His gaze swept over the ruins, lingering on Luna, then the glowing runes. "I do not understand it," he admitted quietly, "but I see its importance, and I will not allow it to be used to harm you or the child." Together, the three of them explored the ruins, each step echoing in the hollow spaces. Luna could feel the air thickening, the stones vibrating softly beneath her feet. The Lycan King stopped near a large, circular carving at the center of the ruin. "Place your hand here," he instructed, his voice gentle. "The magic will respond to your child's presence." Luna hesitated, her hand hovering over the stone. The Alpha's eyes were on her, steady but tense, while the Lycan King's gaze encouraged her. Slowly she pressed her palm to the surface. A warmth spread from her hand, through her arm and into her chest. She gasped as the runes glowed brighter, responding to her child's latent power. The forest outside seemed to hum in response, the wind stirring through the trees with an almost sentient rhythm. "It feels," she whispered, "alive, strong, dangerous." "Yes," the Lycan King said softly, "and it is yours. Protect it, nurture it. But beware, those who seek control will come for it, and some of them will not hesitate to take from you what is yours by right." The Alpha stepped closer, his expression conflicted. "Then we will stand together," he said quietly. "No one will harm her or the child while I draw breath. Even if I have been cruel, I will not fail now." Luna looked from one man to the other, feeling the storm of tension, fear, and longing within her. She realized that the journey ahead would not only test her courage, but also the hearts of the two men who had become entangled in her life. As they explored further, a sudden tremor shook the ruins. Stones fell from the walls and dust filled the air. Luna stumbled, clutching her belly. The Lycan King moved instantly, steadying her while the Alpha's hand gripped her shoulder protectively. "What is happening?" Luna gasped, fear rising. "The power is awakening faster than expected," the Lycan King said, eyes narrowing. "Your child is responding to the magic of the ruins. This is both a blessing and a warning. We must be vigilant." The Alpha's gaze softened as he looked at Luna. "You are stronger than you realize," he said. "And I have failed to see it until now, but I will not fail again." Luna felt her heart tighten. The Alpha's words were sincere, and yet the tension between the two men, one familiar, one new, pulled at her in ways she could not ignore. She realized that her child's power was not the only force that would shape the coming days. Love, jealousy, loyalty, and redemption would all play their part. As the sun climbed higher, the ruins revealed more secrets. Carvings depicting a prophecy showed a child of power uniting divided clans, or bringing ruin if misused. Luna traced the runes with her fingers, awe and fear mixing in her chest. "This is my child," she whispered. "Yes," the Lycan King said. "The prophecy speaks of a child born of strength and courage. You are the vessel. The Alpha and I, we are guardians if you allow it. But the path will not be easy." The Alpha nodded silently, his dark eyes holding a mixture of regret and determination. "We will face it together," he said. "For her, for the child, for what is right. I will not allow past mistakes to define the future." Luna felt a surge of hope. Perhaps there was a way to balance the two men's influence, to find strength in both their protection. But deep inside, she knew that decisions would have to be made, sacrifices offered, and courage found in the face of fear. Suddenly, a shadow moved in the outer edge of the ruins. Luna froze, the Lycan King's eyes narrowed. "They are here," he said. "The ones who seek the child's power, we must be ready." The Alpha stepped in front of Luna, dark and powerful, his pride and love shining through his controlled anger. "They will not harm her," he said firmly. "Not while I live." The Lycan King's hand rested lightly on Luna's shoulder, protective and reassuring. And I will not allow them either. Together, we are stronger than any enemy. Luna felt the weight of her destiny settle upon her shoulders. The forest, the ruins, the prophecy, all spoke of challenges, danger, and power. But in that moment, she realized something important. She was not alone. And for the first time in her life, she felt the spark of control, courage, and choice. The journey was far from over. The shadows of the past, the power of the child, and the hearts of the two men would collide in ways that could either destroy them or unite them. Luna knew the coming trials would test her, but she would face them. Not just as a Luna, but as a mother, a guardian, and a force to be reckoned with. The storm clouds gathered over the kingdom, painting the sky in shades of gray and silver. The wind howled through the cliffs that overlooked the jagged coastline, and waves crashed below like thunder. Luna stood at the edge of the precipice, her dress billowing around her, her hands resting protectively on her belly. The child inside her moved gently, but its presence was heavy with power, pulsing like a heartbeat in the storm. Behind her, the ruins of the forest still glimmered faintly in the distance, the magic of the place lingering like a promise. But here on the cliff there were no trees to shelter them, no shadows to hide in, only the raw force of wind, water, and destiny. The Lycan King stepped forward, his dark eyes scanning the horizon. "This is where it ends," he said quietly. "The prophecy, the power, the choices, all of it leads here." Luna's heart raced. She could feel the tension between the two men who had become the pillars of her life, one familiar and commanding, shaped by pride and past mistakes, the other strong, protective, and unwavering. Each had stakes in her heart and her child's future, and each carried a storm of their own. The Alpha emerged from the cliffside shadows, his expression grim, yet softer than she had ever seen. His dark eyes met hers, and she could see regret, love, and determination all tangled together. "I have failed you before," he said, voice low but firm. "But I will not fail now, not for you, not for the child." The Lycan King's gaze remained fixed on Luna, but there was no threat in it, only resolve. "We face them together," he said. "Whatever comes, we are stronger together. You are the key, Luna, but we will protect you." The wind swirled around them, carrying the scent of salt and the pulse of magic. Luna's mind raced, the enormity of the moment pressing on her. She was no longer just a Luna, no longer just a woman caught in the games of men. She was a mother, a bearer of power, and a force in her own right. A low rumble shook the ground. From the mist, figures emerged, rival clans drawn by the prophecy and the child's power. Their eyes gleamed with ambition, their weapons ready. They had come for control, for dominance, for the child who would shape the world. "Stay behind me," the Alpha said, stepping in front of Luna, his form solid and unyielding like a dark fortress. The Lycan King moved to her other side, his presence calm but deadly, a shield of resolve and power. Luna felt the energy of both men, each different, each powerful, and realized that the choices before her were not about love alone. They were about survival, protection, and the future of her child. The first clash came swiftly. The rival forces surged forward, and the Alpha moved with the speed and precision of a predator, protecting Luna with every step. The Lycan King's power radiated outward, controlling the energy of the storm itself, bending the wind and rain as a barrier around them. Luna watched in awe and fear, realizing the full extent of what her child could awaken in them both. A sudden tremor hit the cliff, and Luna stumbled, clutching her belly. Pain flashed through her, but it was different this time, strong, powerful, like the child inside was reacting to the danger. She gasped, and the Lycan King's hand was instantly on her shoulder. "It's the child," he said. "Its power is responding. Stay calm, breathe." The Alpha's eyes softened as he knelt beside her. "You are strong," he said. "Do not let fear take you. You carry more than life itself. You carry destiny." Luna closed her eyes, drawing in a deep breath. She felt the power surge from within her, a rhythmic pulse that mirrored the storm around them. The rival clans faltered at the sight, unsure of how to approach the child's force. "Now," the Lycan King said, his voice low, commanding, "focus. Let the power guide you. Let it protect us." Luna placed her hands over her belly, feeling the warmth, the pulse, the energy that seemed to flow in waves from the child. The wind howled in response, whipping around the cliff, lifting rain and mist into a swirling vortex. The rival clans staggered, some thrown to the ground by the unseen force, others hesitating, unsure of how to challenge a mother and child united by ancient magic. The Alpha stepped forward, his presence commanding, creating a barrier with his strength and determination. Every time a rival approached, he met them with precision, deflecting without cruelty, protecting without hesitation. Luna realized with a mix of awe and sorrow how much he had grown, not just in power but in understanding, in love, and in the courage to stand for her. The Lycan King's hands moved with elegance, drawing the storm's energy, shaping it into a shield that combined with the Alpha's force. Together they created a circle of protection, a sanctuary around Luna, while the rival clans hesitated, unable to breach the combined strength of the two men and the child within her. Breathing heavily, Luna whispered, "We can do this. We can survive." "You already are," the Lycan King replied softly. "But the final test comes now. You must choose, Luna. For the child's safety, for your own heart, you must decide." Luna looked between the two men. The Alpha had been cruel once, yes, but his strength, his willingness to change, his love, twisted though it had been, was undeniable. The Lycan King offered protection, clarity, and a chance to step into freedom and trust. Her heart ached with the weight of the choice, but deep inside, she knew that her decision must not be for comfort alone. It must be for the child, for destiny, for survival. The rival clans surged again, more desperate this time, and Luna felt the child stir fiercely. The energy radiating from her belly flared outward, strong and unrelenting. She realized that she did not need to choose between the two men in that instant. She only needed to command the power, to take control of the destiny in her hands. Closing her eyes, Luna focused on the warmth, the pulse, the life within her. She imagined a protective barrier, a force that would shield them all, and she felt it expand, radiating outward like a beacon of power. The rival clans were thrown backward, their weapons useless against the combined force of mother, child, and the united strength of the Alpha and the Lycan King. For a moment, silence fell over the cliff. Rain poured down in sheets, but the clearing where Luna stood was untouched, sacred, a sanctuary of determination and courage. The Alpha exhaled, lowering his guard slightly, his dark eyes meeting hers. "You are incredible," he said, voice low, filled with awe. "Stronger than I ever imagined." The Lycan King stepped closer, his hand brushing lightly against hers in reassurance. "And you are not alone," he said. "We stand with you, always." Luna felt tears in her eyes, a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and the strange, overwhelming power of hope. The storm around them began to ease, the waves below calming, the wind softening, as though the very world acknowledged the strength she carried within her. The rival clans, beaten back, retreated into the mist. Luna, the Alpha, and the Lycan King remained, standing together on the cliff, their hearts racing, their breaths heavy, their spirits alive with triumph and unity. "You survived," the Alpha said quietly, stepping closer. "And you protected what matters most. I am sorry for everything before, for my cruelty, for my pride, but I swear I will not fail again." Luna met his gaze, feeling the sincerity in his words. I see the change," she said softly, "but it is not just your redemption I see. It is also my choice, my strength, and the child is the future we all protect." The Lycan King nodded, eyes filled with respect and admiration. "The future is in your hands, Luna," he said, "and whatever path you choose, I will honor it. I will honor you." The wind cleared, the clouds parted, and two moons shone in the sky above, the larger silver moon of the kingdom, the smaller pale moon of the northern lands. Luna looked at them and felt the weight of destiny, the power of choice, and the promise of protection and love. For the first time in her life she felt free, not from responsibility, not from challenge, but from fear. She was no longer a victim of circumstance, of pride, or of cruelty. She was a mother, a guardian, and a force that would shape the world. The Alpha and the Lycan King stood on either side of her, two powerful forces, two hearts intertwined with her own. And Luna knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but together they could face whatever darkness came. As the night settled and the two moons cast their soft light upon the cliff, Luna pressed a hand to her belly, feeling the warmth and power of the child within. She smiled softly. The storm had passed. The shadows had receded. And in the quiet aftermath, a new dawn began. Not just for Luna, not just for the Alpha or the Lycan King, but for the child who would one day change the world.